Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Grue Room. And happy 2022! Happy New Year to all the fans of the Grue Room. And I'm really looking forward to a year of great guests. And we're starting 2022 off with an amazing guest. He is a athlete and an artist, and his name is Colton Kugler. I am Rocco Cross. I am the host at Stutters, as you know by watching my show. And my interview with Colton is coming up next. Happy New Year, everyone. Okay, welcome to Grue, and thank you so much for taking time out of your night and coming on the
Of
show.
course, no, I'm excited. It was like perfect timing to connect.
Definitely. Thank you. I appreciate that. And like first thing I wanted to ask you is how was everything? Like how was your Christmas and
I had a good holiday this year. Very non-traditional. I've always spent it at home in Colorado, where I'm
Mhm.
from. And this year we kind of curbed like familial obligations and just decided to get out, go somewhere warm. So my immediate family and I went to Mexico and just
Nice.
had a good laid back week together. I think Christmas morning we were out like fishing. So it was nice. It was definitely needed. It's been a busy season, so good to get away together.
Oh wow, that's awesome. And and how did you bring in 2022? Like did you go to any fun parties and
I kind of hosted. We have a little ski cabin up in Winter Park, so
ooh,
I had like some of
nice.
my friends, and my younger brother had some of his friends. So we just been skiing, and tons of snow was coming into Colorado. So more laid back than my usual, but it was quality.
Awesome. You, you know, like I always hear like a lot of good things about that area, Colorado. I that was that's one city I always wanted to go see. I never got a chance to go out and see it yet, but
Oh, you'll
I
have
do.
to. It's
Oh,
beautiful. Unfortunately, lots of wildfires these days. We just
oh
had a
no, really?
really huge one in Boulder County, like 1,000 houses lost.
Oh my God.
And then the snow came in and put it out. So that's insane. But the secret's kind of out. Denver used to be undercover, and now lots of people are moving here. But I actually live in LA most of the time. That's home base
Oh
now. Where are you based on the East Coast?
yeah, Philly.
Okay. Yeah, I like Philadelphia.
You ever been there?
I have. Yeah, I
Oh
was there
nice.
last summer. I want to say June.
Wow, awesome. What did you wind up doing when you were here?
Went into downtown Philly, like some of the historical tours, lots of
Yeah.
food. I was staying with a friend of mine who lives more like in the country. If you've ever heard of Nazareth,
Oh yeah, yeah.
yeah. So we were hiking there. So pretty laid back, but I've been around DC, Philly,
Mhm.
New York, Boston. I do like the East Coast. I would love a stint there someday.
Okay. Wow, you definitely love to travel, right?
Yeah, I'm a little flighty. I'd probably benefit staying put, but after a couple weeks, I get antsy and I'm like, "Where should I go?
Yeah, yeah.
Who wants to host me?"
I know. I'm the same way. Like if I'm staying in the house too long, I'm like bouncing off the walls. I'm like, where can I go? I
Mhm.
need to get out for a day or two, and I, I'm the same way. I hate staying put.
Yeah. Were you born in Philadelphia?
Yeah, born and raised in Philly, never left. I'm one of those ones that's that like the,
Classics. Yeah. I mean, that's my brother's here, and, how long have you been doing interviews?
a year and a half. Well, video interviews like year and a half. It's basically like when COVID hit and a few months in, I was just getting bored and I'm like, all right. I was like, let me tried doing video interviews. I said, because Zoom, I was looking online and Zoom was getting bigger and bigger because everyone was home, bored out of their mind, and they were
Yeah.
using Zoom to talk to everybody. And me and my buddy, we actually run a horror site, and we did interviews on there, but it was written. Like we would send questions in, and they would write write us back and and
Yeah.
and answer the questions, and everything was basically written. And now, like, I went from like doing written interviews to actually getting on screen and doing video ones now.
Very cool. Congrats.
Hmm.
You said a horror site, like
Yeah.
horror films, and no, that's sick. That's definitely my forte, like horror
Really
thrillers, slashers, psychological thrillers.
nice.
Um, like my thesis film in college and growing
Okay.
up, like had a haunted house in our basement.
What,
So
really?
if your site's not defunct, I'll have to go read some of those interviews or
Oh yeah,
publications.
it's still up. Like after we're done the interview, I'll send over the link. Like, yeah, it's still, I mean,
Yes, please.
we still post like horror news and articles, and just the interviews now aren't written anymore. Like we're doing the video interviews, and that's why I
Mhm,
got like the Grue Room like video thing now.
mhm.
And but like everything else is still the same. Like we do like the written articles and news and everything. So the site is still up and like running and stuff.
Awesome. No, it's a very niche group of people, I feel like. I mean, there's always a huge market cap with horror films. There's always going to
Yes.
be a fan base, but to meet a true like aficionado is rare. Um, Actually, at the cabin before New Year's, I was like, we should watch like a scary movie because it's
Nice.
like a bunch of kids like in this cabin. And I was like, this is a perfect setup for a
Right.
movie. And they're like, no, Colton, it's New Year's. We're not watching, yeah, whatever I was suggesting. But
Nice. And you said you had a haunted house in your basement?
I did. My friends and I used to run
Wow.
a haunted house called Nightmare Mansion.
Ooh.
I should probably get rid of the Facebook group by now and probably get rid of a lot of my Facebook content in general, or just get rid of it. But yeah, it was really fun. It started small the first year, and then the second year, my family was getting ready to do like a basement remodel, so they didn't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily care about it and the carpet and whatnot. So I like sectioned off the entire thing. The basement has two entrances, so it was perfect, and we had a ton of different themed rooms. Everyone acted in it.
Oh wow.
I like raised a little bit of money and then donated that. So it was really fun. We spent like the whole month leading up to Halloween, like coming over after school and building everything. And yeah,
That is so awesome. I love that.
it was fun. Halloween's my shit. Definitely my favorite holiday.
Same,
Um,
same. My
Yeah,
favorite
it's the
holiday.
best. October in general,
Oh
you
yeah.
got the movies, the weather changing, unless you live in LA where the weather doesn't change, but at least it's permanent sunshine.
Right.
Um, yeah, no, it's great. If I'm actualize what I wanna do in the entertainment industry, would love to do, like, a charity haunted
Hmm.
house someday, and I could have a bunch of A-listers and actors come in. It would be like a one night thing,
I
and they would
love
be
it.
acting in the haunted house, and so then people would come, shell out cash to go through, have
Well,
the
yeah.
experience. We could have a television special, and then each year there would be a different, like, social cause that we're championing, and we would donate, like, all the proceeds to that.
Y-
So,
You
you
should
can't steal that
definitely get that
idea, you
started.
or
Yeah.
anyone listening. I will hunt you down, or we can work on it together, but
Right. Ah, like that is like really awesome. You should definitely start that.
thank you. It's definitely back pocket. Um,
Okay.
I feel like sometimes my eggs are spread in too many places.
Right. I know
Maybe I
that's how it
shouldn't phrase
always is.
that, but, yeah, um, I feel like 2022 for me is gonna be a year of focus and, like, honing in on, strengthening some skills I already have. That's just kind of like an ethos behind
Hmm.
like bettering what you're already good at versus
Yeah.
focusing on things that you're perhaps not as adept doing. So yeah, I think it's equally important knowing what you don't like as it
Hmm.
is and what you do like, professionally, relationally.
Yeah, definitely. Well, like my 2022 goal, last year, I I found someone who writes scripts because I wanted to do like a full-length horror movie since I have a
Mhm,
horror site and a horror video chat,
mhm.
a horror video interview show, and I'm connected to the horror world, so why not actually try making a horror film?
Yeah,
And I sought out someone that makes horror movies because I'm not good at writing. So, but I hired this script writer, and I gave him like I told him what I wanted the title to be and how I wanted it to start, the middle, and the end. And he
mhm.
just wrote and filled in the blanks to make it like a script,
Cohesive.
not script long enough for like a full length horror movie. And my goal this year is to actually like start getting serious because I've been sitting on this for like a few months now and I got lazy and didn't do nothing about it. But like that's my goal is to like to work on this and get crowdfunding and
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I support you in that wholeheartedly. It's like quite a lion's share doing filmmaking in general, like
mhm.
whatever level, it really does take a village. I mean, obviously the financing, but
Well, yeah,
I love how collaborative it is. I mean,
yeah,
like you get to collaborate with your writer, but then beyond that, the casting process, working with talented directors and cinematographers, being in the editing room,
yep.
marketing the film. Um, it's kind of cool. Like each project you work on, you have different coworkers and bosses and creatives that you're around, and the story can be completely different too. So, if you want another set of eyes, I'll sign an NDA or whatever, but you can shoot the script my way
Oh,
and
definitely,
I'll
yes.
read it or see what's going on.
Okay, definitely. Because I mean, I know you're well aware of being like a horror fan. There's all different types of horror, from Asian horror, black horror, gay horror. Like there's all kinds of horror, and
Mhm.
this film that I wanted is actually a gay slasher horror film, and
Fun. That's definitely up my alley. I would like to read.
I've seen quite a few gay horror films, and it's not done good. Like it's so stereotypical, and the characters are like way overboard. And
Yeah, like, just not nuanced perhaps or like a fair portrayal.
exactly, exactly. So like I definitely wanted like this to be like more like grounded, and the characters aren't like over the top just because they're gay doesn't mean that every gay person has to be loud and crazy and a drag queen and
Of
and that's
course.
and that's what they always do with these like horror
Yeah,
films. And
yeah.
so I'm trying to get it like grounded now, and I'm hoping to get it off the ground.
No, it's an exciting time. I mean, representation matters, and I think there's a lot of, like, shakeup, long overdue shakeup happening in media in general, like music and the film industry, and a lot
Hmm.
of, underrepresented communities and voices are having space, whether it is in the writing room or whether it's in
Yeah.
front of the camera. And a lot of shows and films are trying to tackle horror in real life, whether that's police injustice or racial issues. I mean, the
Mm.
reason Get Out was such a cultural phenomenon was that Jordan Peele was clever enough to kind of hit
Sure.
this underlying like cultural malady, and spin it in such a way that was consumable. And I think that there hasn't necessarily been that yet
Mhm.
for queer people in like the LGBTQIA community. So it would be awesome to see like a horror film that successfully like knows its audience,
Yeah.
and brings in people to the theater or to the streaming site who do not identify as such, but still love the story and the
Right,
characters and,
exactly, yes.
you know, the action, the gore, the
The gore
romance, whatever you have in your script.
the gore is a definite must since it's a slasher film.
Yes. 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 The deaths are always the most creative part, and I'll
Right.
see I'll text you my predictions on the order everyone's gonna die after I'm
Okay.
like 10, 20 pages in. I'll be like, "Okay, do you know where this is going?"
What are some horror films you love watching?
Silence of the Lambs is a favorite. I mean, it was just so ahead of its time. I haven't
Definitely.
seen any other Jonathan Demme films, but Jodie Foster's phenomenal, Anthony Hopkins is phenomenal. The kind of bait and switch and then the twist at the end is like legendary in cinematic history. I really like the film Prisoners. Denis
Oh, I
Villeneuve
saw
is
that. Yeah.
the French Canadian director, just did
Yeah.
Dune, Sicario. I wouldn't classify that as horror, but it's very realistic. It's very disturbing. It's kind
Hmm.
of dealing with guilt and trauma and accusations and like the family unit breaking down. So that's a favorite for sure. In terms of like pure horror, I love the Scream franchise,
Oh my God,
like
I love
Scream
that.
1, Scream
Yes.
2, so
Yes.
good. There's a new Scream coming out. I'm
Can't
curious to
wait.
see
I'm
that.
like,
I wasn't sold on the show, but
yeah, the TV series.
I'll give the movie a chance. I love Sinister. I think that was a
Yes.
very, very
Yes.
solid film. Um, Super disturbing. I liked their incorporation of, like camera footage that
Mhm.
Blair Witch kind of revolutionized, and then there was kind of a period where it was really overdone.
Yeah.
Um, and it even like hopped genre lines, like Cloverfield. I wouldn't call a horror film, but it adopted that same technique
Hmm.
pretty successfully. Um, Other ones like not so much, but we actually had a found footage horror film that my friend Michael and I shot in high school.
Really?
Um, for the time, I would look back and say I'm pretty proud. I'll send you the link. It's called
Yeah,
Jenny's
definitely.
House. We shot it in like one night. I'm acting in
Nice.
it too. You'll get like prepubescent me, so my voice is very different. But super fun. I did like the makeup for that. I used to be obsessed with
Okay.
special effects makeup.
Oh, really?
So the show Face Off was something I really enjoyed, and learning, the prosthetics, the liquid latex, everything that goes into realistic special effects.
Yeah.
Evil Dead, the remake of Evil Dead, that was
Yeah.
all practical effects done on set, and it shows. Like you
Oh,
don't
yeah, yeah.
touch any CGI. It feels so realistic. It's fucking disgusting in the best way possible. Um, so those are some films of mine. I was a fan of the Insidious
Hmm.
franchise.
Hmm.
Um, Concept wise, I really liked The Purge as a concept.
Yeah.
I do feel like maybe not executed its best. It got a little on the nose politically at times, or it kind of became like horror action, which is fine.
Hmm.
But it could have been a little more subversive or scary, I think.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that's some of mine. Do you have some that I have missed? Anything
Um,
sticking out in your mind that you're like, how did you not mention that?
well, you definitely covered a lot of good ones there, and of course the classics like the Halloweens and the Elm
Mhm.
Streets and Jason and Leatherface, Chucky. Like I mean, I love all those. And there's like a horror movie, 80s horror movie that I absolutely love. Night of the Demons. I don't know if you ever saw that.
I have not seen that. Night of the Demons.
It's really like it's one of my all-time favorite horror movies. I love it. And I interviewed like the girl who plays the lead for that movie, and I was like super happy when I interviewed her because I love that movie. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm interviewing you. I love this movie.
No, that's awesome. I'm glad you landed that interview. I'm sure she was excited too to
Yeah.
promote it and talk about it.
Well, yeah, because she thought like they made three films of that Night of the Demons, one, two, and three. And she played the lead killer in all three films.
Cool. I'm very on board with the female killer.
Yes, and she's
Did you ever see
awesome too.
Devil?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The one
Devil.
where
I
they're all
loved,
trapped on the
spoiler alert,
elevator.
turn off your headphones if you're listening and haven't seen it. the grandma like turns out to be Satan like in this
Oh, that's
elevator, and I don't know
crazy.
why I didn't see that coming, but I think they played our like expectations
Uh-huh.
completely against the audience. I think that was really fun. Um, I'm not as much into creature features. They can be well made, but there was something else on my mind, another film I wanted to bring up. Hmm, it's lost on me for now. Maybe we'll loop back.
Now, did you see Halloween Kills yet?
I have seen it. Yeah, I watched it with my buddy Chase.
Okay, what'd you
We
think?
had Yeah, we watched it at home. I didn't go to the theaters. I love Jamie Lee Curtis. I
Oh,
mean, she owns everything she does, and
yeah,
I would
absolutely.
argue is the best part of the film. I am glad I watched it. I'll never need to watch it again. I don't know your take on it. I just can't relate when there's no stakes because the killer is like immortal.
Yeah, yeah,
I think like if you show the killer too much, it's a little less frightening.
that's
I
true.
think there were some good deaths. I think there were some fun characters, some fun settings. But I mean, when the whole town, actually really like the idea of the whole town like
I know, that
uh,
was crazy.
hunting him, kind of like a reversal. But interesting. In terms of actually the whole town hunting him, there's been some speculation. I don't think it's actually in development. Did you ever see the film It Follows?
Oh,
That's
yeah,
another
yeah,
really, really solid like indie
mhm.
horror that I enjoyed, and it's kind of an allegory for like STI paranoia, like HIV, and it's this demon that's like sexually transmitted and it haunts like the protagonists.
Oh, I
But
know.
I was in some internet forum like way back when. I don't think I read it, but like discussing the film, and
Well, yeah,
they were saying how cool it would be to have a sequel, so like a two-part, and the sequel would be called Follow It. And now it's like instead of constantly being chased, the protagonists are trying to go back and like discover the origin of this curse, to kind of like
uh,
pull it out at the roots. And I liked
oh,
that.
okay, yeah,
I love like the final girl trope in horror films where you have like the badass fighting back. I think that's why Scream is so popular. Um,
exactly,
like
exactly.
Sidney Prescott, great character.
She's
Everyone can root for her.
she's
But
classic, but for some reason, I think she gets killed in this new one.
really, you think
I
they're gonna off Neve
I
Campbell?
think so because it looks like they're going with a new set of stars now. Like,
Yeah.
I think
Well, I
they're
remember
gonna
the
continue
fourth.
with the franchise with new stars. So I think they're gonna like kill her off in this.
I would not be surprised. Hollywood loves revamping
Yeah.
source material that they know will fill the coffers. But
Right.
like I think it's important to keep fans happy. You don't want to go too much into like fan fodder though, or fan pleasing. I think
Hmm.
that like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, for instance, to toggle, it's amazing what they've done. I mean, I remember going to see Iron Man when I was younger, and they were
Yeah.
first launching, their company, and a lot of that film wasn't even scripted. Like Jeff Bridges was kind of
Really?
ad libbing on set, going like, "Oh, I think this is something that would be said."
Oh, wow.
And now to have like such a cohesive, I mean, it's a cultural phenomenon. They've also grossed a ton of money. But I will say, like, just as a critique, I do think, like, at a certain point when you get too big or the franchise has existed too long,
Mm,
there's
mhm.
kind of a dangerous territory and just doing what the fans want and trying to please them versus writing something that would be authentic to the characters, or being willing to kill that person or go to that place or
Yeah,
introduce that
exactly.
issue. So I love when I see something, horror or not, that genuinely shocks me, and I'm like, they did not do that. And I do think there's kind of a new subgenre now that is revisiting that.
Mhm.
A24 for sure takes a lot of
Oh,
risks with their
yeah.
storytelling. I mean, Inheritance
Yes.
obviously caught people off guard. I
Yes.
really liked Midsommar.
That was good. That was a really
Or
good
if you
movie.
saw The Witch, which is Anna
That's
Taylor
creepy,
Joy's
yes.
kind of start. Not many people have seen that. I found it quite disturbing in a good way.
It's very
And a
creepy.
lot more of that hinges on like what the audience doesn't see. Lamb, which is with Numi Rapis, it's like an Icelandic horror film.
To
Saw
watch
that
that, yeah.
earlier this year. Um, yeah,
Nice. Yeah, Lamb is I really want to see that. Like I haven't gotten a chance to watch it yet, but it's definitely
It's
on my
it's
list.
worth the watch. Visually, it's awesome. It's definitely a slow burn.
Hmm.
Um,
Well, most of those movies are from them.
yeah, the emphasis is definitely more on the aesthetic than the plot. Like
Yeah,
it's very
exactly.
character driven. I can do those every once in a while and appreciate them as they are. I feel like my hyperactive brain and like all the Western media I've consumed. I do love a fast plot as well, though.
Okay, nice. And what about the television series of of Chucky? Did you get a chance to see that yet?
I haven't. Is this a reboot? Is this like a
No, that's the
classic?
it's still the same guy, Brad Dourif, playing the voice of Chucky, and it's a TV series, and
What network or streamer is doing it? Do you know?
USA did it, and I mean it's done now. Like it was out for it came out this year. Well, not not 2022 and 2021 it came out, and it was 8 episodes long, and they're signed back for season two, and all the kid like Jennifer Tilly's in it, and she's Tiffany, and
Mhm.
Chucky, and Brad Dourif is the voice of Chucky again, and they brought back the little boy from Child's Play 1 and 2, and he's all grown up now, and
That's so fun. Yeah. I will definitely look into that. Thanks for the
it,
recommendation.
it was very good. I liked it a lot. Like, it was very good, and I can't believe for a channel like USA they got away with Chucky dropping all the F-bombs.
I know. Getting risky these days. A lot of networks have like their other place where they put adult content. Like Disney owns Hulu, which not a lot of people know. So
Mhm.
anything that doesn't fit the Disney family model, and that's a very like tried and true successful
Yeah.
brand image, they're like, yeah, we want to make that, but like just put it on Hulu. Um,
Right, right.
but I mean, AMC's taken some good risks. I think
Mhm.
you could count at least the first season as horror. The Walking Dead in
Yeah.
its heyday was phenomenal television. Like I think Frank Darabont did such a good job with the first season. It was terrifying.
Oh, I
Um,
know. But I think it's the seasons got on that kinda lost its steam.
yeah, I think you become desensitized to the walkers, which is always an issue with
Mhm.
like a visible enemy or threat. So then they have to introduce like human antagonists, which would happen in that post-apocalyptic setting. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'd say most television shows lose steam.
Yeah.
American Horror Story, another case that is,
True,
was phenomenal
true.
and groundbreaking. Asylum is probably my favorite season, and I remember
Nice,
watching it in high
nice.
school and like I had to shut it off because I felt physically sick at one point.
Wow,
I'm not
really?
going to give spoilers for that, but I was like, that's good. Like it means they achieved their goal.
Yes.
Murder House is phenomenal. I
That was
think
good.
Coven was campier, but I loved watching it. The production
Mhm,
value of Hotel was great. But
mhm.
beyond that, I think once you have these series that continue or franchises, you do run the risk of
Yeah.
maybe not ending on as like conclusive of a narrative note because at that point, everyone's sitting in the writer's room going, all right, how are we going to get our viewers for this? Let's introduce like a cannibal cult
Right,
for The
right.
Walking Dead or you name it. So I think it's helpful for writers and storytellers sometimes to kind of stick to their guns and go,
Mhm.
no, this is meant as like a trilogy, or like we have to wrap up Game of Thrones in this time. Like the story can't go on forever. Um, and then it's just a matter of pacing from there. It's like where do we want to hit all of our beats? Where do we want to like get all of our emotions? So that's something I think about at least when I am writing and like in the creative zone.
Okay, okay. And do you write, like, scripts and stuff, or,
I do.
stories and
Yeah, I am a screenwriter.
okay.
Definitely trying to write more this year. I direct, I produce. So trying to like it's an interesting industry to navigate, but
Yeah.
definitely wanting to even in smaller spaces or projects, still carve out time to do those, even as I'm working on larger sets, like under the hierarchy to get that stuff made. But definitely hoping to write a lot more in 2022. So you send me your script,
Yeah,
I'll
definitely.
send you mine, and it's been really fun meeting and connecting. I appreciate it.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like what are some films you di directed and produced?
My thesis film in college is called Guilt, and it is a psychological thriller. I would like to turn it into a feature, so it's kind of a proof of concept now, 15-minute short, and it's not for public viewing because of the festival cycle, but I could definitely send you a link and a password.
Oh, okay.
I could send you, that horror film I mentioned
Yeah,
in high
definitely.
school that I
Definitely want to see
did.
that.
I did a documentary in college. It was like a climate change documentary. I was with a handful of friends doing a program abroad in Germany, and they were having COP, which is like the UN's Conference of the Parties in Bonn that year. So they had brought these various women from their respective countries, and the exhibit was on like climate heroines. So I picked
Okay.
this remarkable woman named Minette from the Philippines who does a lot of like on the ground activism and work there. So it's not always horror. Like I know that was most of our conversation, but lots of interests. I was working on RuPaul earlier
Oh,
this,
nice.
yeah, earlier, I guess last year, 2021, which
Yeah,
was a great experience.
that's so
I was
awesome.
talent wrangling, so I pretty much showed up and got to be around like A-list drag queens all day.
Wow,
So that was
nice.
good. But yeah, trying to build momentum. And, as we keep coming out of the pandemic, there's still a huge need for content. And
Oh, definitely.
they're shooting a ton of stuff, LA, Atlanta, New York, you name it. So I'm excited and ready to hustle. And,
Okay.
maybe we have another interview in a year, and then I'll have more things to share about what
Yeah.
I've made and worked on.
Well, I know you're pressed for time. I'm gonna ask like one more question and that's it.
Okay.
Like I saw your page and you're big into sports. Like I see you do like a lot of skiing,
Mm-hmm.
hiking, mountain biking. Like how did you how did you get involved with doing all those different sports?
Yeah, so I just feel so fortunate growing up here. There's definitely an outdoor culture in Colorado, and I would say Hawaii as well, California, like the Northeast. But you can do that anywhere. But
Hmm.
the mountains were my backyard and my playground. So I grew up, I was like probably 4 when I started skiing. My parents had me
Okay.
on a leash. So it just comes very secondhand. And I actually didn't like it as a child. I would get so cold and I would be,
Hmm. Hmm.
up waiting for the lift at 9 a.m., tired and freezing. And then in high school, like getting to ski a lot more with my friends, you're competitive with your buddies. So I
Of
think that made
course.
me a lot better, and then, kept doing it through college. So I love skiing. It allows winter to pass a lot faster because you find something to do recreationally. But for summer and the fall, I mean, big hiker. I like camping. I picked
Nice.
up more mountain biking. I was living at home during most of COVID,
Okay.
because everything was still shut down in LA and there wasn't any work.
Yeah.
So I picked up more mountain biking. I actually, I broke my collarbone. I don't know if people
Oh
can see
no.
it. I like flew off my mountain bike and steamboat
No.
and
Oh
shattered it.
no.
So I'm a little, I'm a little more timid on the saddle nowadays. And
Okay.
there's not a ton of mountain biking in LA where I live, but would like to get my road bike fixed up and, put in some time doing that again. So yeah, I guess it's just like family and friendship. Those exposed me to different outdoor activities, and
Nice.
it was more so like for my mental health. Like I think the physical benefits of exercise are great, but mainly it's a space for me to go and forget about whatever's going on in my life for 40 minutes, or
Mm,
if I go on that 5 mile hike, it's almost meditative. I just have to put one foot in front of the next and I can take in the scenery.
sweet. And where can fans find you at? Like, what's your pages, your social
Um,
media?
I'm not all over socials, which has also been great for my mental health. Like, I don't have a
Right.
Twitter, I don't have a Snapchat, I never use my Meta. So Instagram really is the best space to connect, to ask about projects, you
Hmm.
name it. It's kind of like my all-purpose app for doing things.
Yeah.
Otherwise, LinkedIn at some point, but
Okay.
yeah, I'm not in the TikTok space or the YouTube space, but I'm always happy to send people links to my work, and hopefully, sooner or later they'll be able to click something on their computer or be in a theater, and it'll be a
Hmm.
project that I've put some blood, sweat, and tears into.
Sweet. Awesome. Well, I want to thank you for taking time and coming on the show. It's been really awesome talking to you, and I'm definitely gonna send you some links of mine too, like for the horror site, the script, and everything. So we're definitely gonna stay in touch.
Yes, please do. No, it was a great conversation, very natural. I'm honored you asked me, and wish you the best. So happy New
Thank
Year's, everyone. And if you haven't watched those things we were talking about, do
you.
yourself a favor and go do that.
Exactly. All right, buddy. Definitely have a great night and great week.
Thank you. You too. Night.
Thanks. Bye.